Welcome to loveredbridge.com, the site that allows you to rate and comment on local services and local politicians. It's been set up so the local community go in there and say, I love Barkingside High Street, I'm going to give it 4 stars. I love Ilford Exchange, I'm going to get 4 stars, but I wish they opened a bit longer. Comment on my local service, my recycling service is great, but collection times need a bit of improvement. My local councillor has been doing so much for the local community and he's not been recognised. These are actually all real comments and ratings that have come onto the site, so take a look, loveredbridge.com. One of the other things loveredbridge.com does is engage with the local council, tries its very best to give access to the local democracy. And that we mean we're getting the local communities, the local public to see what really goes on. And very important initiative has come about in Redbridge. A little bit of excitement a month ago when some of the councillors had their wrists slapped for tweeting in council meetings. I can understand the concerns because these are complex meetings and you do need to pay attention. But I also see a much bigger need in terms of giving the public access to these meetings. And I attended the cabinet meeting, amazing meeting, very interesting. 170 pages of interesting, squashed into about 45 minutes of discussion. But 4 members of the public were there. Why were there only 4 members of the public there? What is wrong with it? Was it the type of meeting, or was it just not interesting to them? So we all have a role to play in ensuring that people attend these meetings and people are interested and know how important these meetings are. So we'd like to be part of that. We'd like to firstly congratulate the councillors that did tweet. Well done. I mean, I think it's about time that we allow people to hear what's going on. And whatever happens, if we're not going to have councillors tweeting, let's get more public in there. Let them tweet. Let us get in there and record meetings, because these are actually important. Cabinet meeting, a lot of information. They covered everything. They covered local issues, local regeneration, Barkingside High Street, Barkingside the area, huge investment coming in. Well done to the council to brought that money in. A lot of interest in the area, new shops, new buzz about it. I do worry about the tube station. I don't think they're going to be able to cope with the growth of the area unless there's some development in that as well. So something very positive there. But also something quite negative in the meeting, talking about prostitution in Oxford. This is something that's destroying families. I have a very passionate councillor raising the issue, and I hope it gets heard. We had a local resident of the Orchard Estate pushing forward his concerns. We should have more people raising concerns there. We've had councillors raising issues with school labs from the Dark Ages that need improving. I mean, this is really interesting stuff. It was a very good meeting. But it was my first meeting. I'm not sure what to make of it. I'm quite impressed with the amount of work that's covered, and you do realise that a lot of work has been done. You appreciate the role of the opposition. You appreciate the role of the team behind the councillors. So I mean, let me end my little speech by firstly saying thank you to Councillor Prince. The council has allowed recording in the meetings, but it is at the discretion of the chair, so thank you for that. Thank you to the leaders of the parties. This is an important stage, and I think we all realise how this changes everything. If more and more of the public start recording these meetings, I think we'll encourage more to get involved when they see how things are done, and I think they'll actually appreciate the work that's been done by the councillors even more. So that's really important. So thank you to the leader and the chair and the leaders of the party. Thank you to the team behind it. That's been really helpful in helping Love Redbridge get there, and that's like Eddie Gibb. Thank you for being understanding when we keep making mistakes on the time with regards to the councillors, and you guys correcting us. Thank you to the the ICT team. I mean, they've been great. Heidi and Barry, thank you for showing there is love in the ICT team. I really appreciate that. Thank you to Sajida Ibrahim, who's the one of the clerks there, who's helped arrange for us to be part of this meeting. So thank you everyone, and we hope you enjoyed this meeting. The sound does need improving, the video quality is not great, but we'll keep working on that. But it's history in the making, and we've done this together. So thank you to everyone. Enjoy.
Good evening. Good evening, everybody. Welcome. I'd just like to start apologies for absence. I can't see any, so that's okay. Remind members in relation to declaration of interest. And before I go further, just to point out, we've just adopted new standing order. It's number 68, and the chairman of this committee is, as you know, for me to decide and to give permission or not for the filming of these proceedings, and just to say that I'm quite happy for the proceedings to be filmed. See, we all love privilege. Okay, moving on. Public participation. I have one speaker, Mr. Jim Brennan, who wishes to speak on item 16 in the order of the state. Mr. Brennan, would you like to come forward? So could you show everyone where to sit, please?
Yeah, with a good light.
Welcome, Mr. Brennan. Can I just remind you you have 2 minutes to speak?
Actually, I didn't hear what you said there, sir.
Right. You have 2 minutes. 2 minutes.
Basically, what it is with Mr. Taylorfield, like this, he rang us last night and told us what happened, but that came just as all the same. It was about the building construction thing that's going on this, on the Orchard Estate, and also the CCTV on the Orchard Estate. I was just wondering how we're progressing on the CCTV, because no, we've got none.
Unfortunately, the CCTV is not on the agenda, but I will ask the cabinet member to give you a written, if you leave your details, I'll get the cabinet member to give you a written answer as to what's happening with the CCTV. And in relation to the Orchard Estate, we've got the report later, the cabinet member will give a full response to that, unless you wish to question.
Thank you for your question, Jim. Although when we spoke, we did explain it a bit more that you had some concerns over the procurement and whether one of the current contractors, Lovells, who were based at the Orchard Estate, could be just given the job, basically. I did explain that the procurement was a mini tender amongst 13 organisations on a framework. I don't know who's on the framework. If Lovells are on the framework, they are quite willing to, well, they're quite at liberty to put in for the tender. But that is how it will be, and we wouldn't just issue this sort of contract to Lovells. With regards to the CCTV, and I know you were saying about whether they could utilise the scaffolding to get to the top and use it when it comes forward. I don't know if that's going to be the case. We would obviously look at that. It is on the capital programme for this financial year coming, and the work is being progressed by property services. I think it will fall under to come up with a scheme. But I did give you a guarantee last time that it will be achieved this financial year, so something will be done.
Will we get you a full response to the CCTV?
the 29th of April, I had the privilege of meeting Her Majesty the Queen, which was a wonderful day. And on the 17th of April, I attended the Overview Committee, which was last week, Peter. Thank you.
Any other countdown?
Earlier today, I had a meeting with David White, who's the Mayor of London's advisor in relation to such matters, connected with the Barkingside regeneration project, in respect of which we're receiving about £1.95 million worth of funding from Mayor Boris Johnson.
Any other member? Okay. Just a few meetings that I've attended. I attended the Hayward Business Park networking event on the 22nd of March. On the 23rd of March, I attended the Redbridge Chamber of Commerce breakfast meeting. The 23rd of March also did the presentation of awards for Sport England Hayward Recreation Ground Pavilion. 24th of March, Mayor's Community Awards presentation evening. It was a very good evening, and I take the hat off to the Mayor actually to coming up with this idea of making the what used to be known as the City Dinner, and now a community dinner that recognises those people in the community who are making a positive contribution to Redbridge. 26th of March, I attended the Islam Awareness Week, and that was a launch event at Almore School. On the 27th of March, we had the Governance Arrangements Corporate Panel. We'll be hearing more about that in a couple of days' time. Then we have the KMT board, which I attended along with Councillor Mrs. Nolan and a few other colleagues. And then 16th of April, there was the Member Development Corporate Panel. On the 17th of April, the Overview Committee. That was interesting. And then on the 18th of April, I went to the launch of the Redbridge in Brew at Valentine's Match, which also marks the 100th day until the Olympic Games. Thank you. Now turn to item number 6, which is a scrutiny report in relation to the prostitution in Loxford Ward. I understand that Councillor Maravani would like to speak on this item.
Thank you, Leader. First of all, I'm grateful for allowing me to speak. Leader, I'm slightly disappointed that one of the recommendations, recommendation 3.2 by our officers, states that the officers need a detailed response and 2 cycles. Meanwhile, every day that passes, my residents are suffering really, really badly. It has now become a 24-hour operation in Ilford Lane and on side roads. When we go out canvassing, all we can see is prostitution paraphernalia spread all over, and it's really, really horrible. This evening, Leader, I sent you a news release where the community officer, the safety community officer of Westminster Council has actually given, if I can just read this please, Leader. Romanian beggars flooding London. East European migrants are arriving in London in unprecedented numbers, flooding the capital with beggars, pickpockets and prostitutes before the Olympics officials have warned. And I'll come straight down to where it mentions Ilford. Checks have shown the majority live in Ilford or Slough and travel by mainline trains into Victoria Station. Authorities believe around 50 women were shipped into the Sussex Garden area last weekend, and reports suggest high-class prostitutes are working outside the Cumberland Hotel on Great Cumberland Street. This is really now reached epidemic and plague status, Leader. Leader, what I've also faxed to emailed every cabinet member the letter that I received from Mayor Johnson, who in his ultimate penultimate paragraph says, I understand that the decision you refer to taken at the Environment and Community Safety Scrutiny Committee last month will go to Cabinet for their thoughts and a decision on future action, including whether to make representations to my office at the end of this month. I look forward to hearing the outcome of that meeting. It is because of this, Leader, that I request yourself and your Cabinet members to bring this to 1 cycle. Because there is all the recommendation said was we want Boris Johnson to make a large contribution towards the expenditure that our officers mentioned that should really eradicate prostitution from Roxford and adjoining areas. We've asked for officers have asked for 347, and whilst I'm extremely delighted that Barkingside got £2 million, like your cabinet member for regeneration indicated, this council has also put in 200,000. I'm absolutely delighted about that. Please let's not forget Oxford, leader. Thank you.
All right, thank you. As you know, quite a lot of money has been spent on Oxford, and also, as you quite rightly know, we, as a council, are putting an awful lot of resource to try and mitigate the problem with Oxford. But I do share your concerns, clearly, and I will be having dialogue with the Mayor on the matter, and I will try to get the report done in one cycle. I can't give a guarantee because I don't like to promise things I can't deliver, but I'll ask officers to see if we can turn it around in one cycle. All right, thank you. Item number 7, forward plan. Colleagues, anything else on that one? Oh, sorry, we just agreed the recommendation, except...
Do you want to amend the 3.2?
Yes, except to say that to try and move it within one cycle. Okay, thank you. Agree? Right, forward plan. Any questions? Councillor Hayes.
Thank you. The report on Community Infrastructure Capital Programme priorities, I expect will come in July rather than June. That's on page 33.
Councillor Bond.
Thank you, Chair. As was discussed briefly at Overview Committee, there is a need for the Council to design a local council tax benefit scheme associated with the government's reduction in funding support for council tax benefit. And the intention will be to take 2 reports on this in July, to take a report on the options and consultation process, and then to take a further report on the outcome of those in September.
Councillor Dunn.
Thank you, Leader. In June, I'll be bringing a report regarding Section 106 and the local priority funding.
Councillor Nolan.
Thank you, Leader. In addition to the Olympics report, which is going to Cabinet on 12th of June, and Filmfix, also a report will be going regarding snooze box. I'm pleased to say I also agreed at regulatory last week, and the GLA agreed it last night as well. But it gives everybody the opportunity to see what is progressing and how it will be achieved. Thank you, Leader.
Thank you. Any more? No? Okay, thank you very much. Moving on to item 8, budgetary control report. Just to briefly update everybody, the revenue underspend is currently at just under, just over actually a third of £1 million. That's the underspend of the general fund. The housing revenue account has an underspend of 0.44 million, and the dedicated schools grant has an underspend of 1.4 million. In relation to capital, the underspend there is 15 million, and the new additional government capital funding we received. That's a very important thing. As you may know, last year we received some £29 million from the government to help us with school places, which I think everyone in the chamber accepts as our biggest priority. We've just received some additional funding now from the government of 23 million to help us, and that will help us going forward because we'll reduce our borrowing funding. Item number 9 is internal audit strategy and annual audit plan. We have a legal requirement to produce this every year. In our mission to reduce back office costs, we have reduced the amount of money that we are spending on audit, because obviously we're trying to protect frontline services. As a result of that, this year we'll be doing 1,801 audit days, which is a slight reduction of 180, which represents about 9% reduction. But we are assured that we will have adequate resources to do the job and to control Item number 10 is the report of the Budget Scrutiny Working Group. And I believe Councillor Cole, you wish to speak on this one?
Thank you, Leader. Yes, I just wanted to make a couple of comments on the responses back. I mean, I do welcome the responses, and certainly most of them are quite positive. A couple of issues, things I would like to add there. I mean, certainly on the recommendation one with the social services, welcome to work that they're doing there. I must admit, when we did look at them quite closely, they were doing very well, being very innovative, in what they were doing, and looking forward to some of the other bits sort of coming back from the housing. So, on recommendation 4, it would be good to be able to see some further publicity or other ideas on what other partnerships we are looking to work with, because those mentioned, such as East London Waste, etc., are ones that we have been working with for a while, and it'd be nice to see what other areas we are trying to work in. Obviously, I know we've done very well in the ones we have done. Let's see what other innovations we're making. On 5, the contracts panel, I welcome that one, and we've started to work on that. But I would like to see, and for auction officers maybe when they do, a lot more on trying to encourage smaller, medium-sized enterprises and local businesses. I know it's something that we've been pushing for about the last 8 years since we first started doing some of the procurement changes. On recommendation 7, the reference to the smart card, we weren't necessarily saying that there should be a new smart card. We were just looking to see how we could make expand the use of the Redbridge card which we're using at the moment, to either one to be able to top it up like an Oyster card, to be able to use to pay for things with the borough. That was one, so hopefully that can work, and if it is developed, certainly one that could possibly save some admin services. And I know many other authorities have done one, certainly when it comes to social services, and I know some of the things that Mr. Powell is doing and work on that. On the Redbridge Eye, I think what we were trying to get to, because some of these answers almost seem to be a defence and saying a justification, when we were trying to recommend ways of moving forward. We like what's happened so far, but other things. And what we're looking for Redbridge Eye, when it was first brought in, I'm not even sure how many years it is now, it's going to be about 5, I suppose. We were looking for the idea of being able to pay for almost everything via Redbridge Eye, which we haven't got to yet, which is what we were looking to try, the working party we were pushing for. And for being able to do bookings such as leisure facilities with the halls, the KMT, the drama centre. Why shouldn't we be able to do buy tickets, all of our dealings with the authority, the paying bills, trying to book and make use of facilities being done by Redbridge Eye. So I just hope that was one of the other things we hope to see developed, and that emphasis wasn't really put in here, and that's what we would like to see developed. On number 8, the library volunteers, it would just be good to see if that can come to fruition. I know that it's more complicated than just saying those words, we need volunteers. It wasn't quite as easy as that. And then the last one that I do have some comments on was actually on item 10. What we were trying to emphasise, was going further in here, was looking at the areas such as street scene, highways enforcement officers, making use of these handheld PDAs, they call them, which many authorities use, organisations use, certainly Morrison's do, for their work they do for Redbridge homes, so that officers can work in real time, have the contact back with each other, certainly when they're out walking the streets and they're doing their various enforcement items. It would assist officers in supporting each other, certainly when the numbers have been reduced. And that was the area that we were looking to. Though we welcome what is happening with social services, it was doing that type of item, which is quite a well-used form of technology, and it seemed to make use of that, and I thought that would make it easier for our frontline services to provide a service, since their numbers have been reduced, but to also
If they find issues, they can report back to planning. If they see some problems, send photographs back, all of that type of thing. And to try and develop that, which shouldn't cost huge sums of money, and will enable our officers to provide a better service and a more immediate service. So those are the main items that I would like to see us hopefully push forward with, and the emphasis that I don't think was quite being responded to. I know you can't respond to absolutely everything in the report back. Generally, I welcome the response and look forward to seeing a report back in 6 months of all the achievements, which I'm sure we'll have back to scrutiny when we get it, and some savings that might be made from it. Thank you.
Thank you. Just asking any questions. Councillor Nolan.
It's not really a question, it was just really a comment. Councillor Cole, you mentioned about library volunteers. Well, as of today, we've had about 160 responses for people who are wanting to work in volunteer in our library. So it's been an absolutely fantastic response, and they're still coming in. So it's proved very popular. Thank you.
Councillor Cole.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. Just on a couple of the items you raised that relate to work I'm involved in. On recommendation 4 in relation to shared services, and we do, I think across the cabinet, continue to look at opportunities for sharing services with other councils where there's a financial case to be made. I mean, as we said, some of the ideas that we pursued, there isn't always a financial case to be made, but particularly where Redbridge is already running a fairly efficient service. But I mean, just as one example, this month we've launched a joint arrangement with Haven on registration of births in the registration service, which effectively involves our staff doing the registration of births for births in Avon to Redbridge residents, and that started up in April. So that's just an example of where there are opportunities we are pursuing them. On recommendations, the ones relating to Redbridge Eye, there are a number of major projects that we're currently working on in relation to the website. In terms of functionality, I mean, we're currently working with the parking department to try and put online quite a number of the processes around parking, particularly with residence permits, renewal and issue of residence permits, purchase of visitors tickets, which I know as somebody who now has lived in 2 different residence parking schemes will be hugely more user-friendly than the current method of filling in some horrendous great form and to post it back to the highways department. And we're also looking at respite care in the social services area as another opportunity to use the website. We're working with Council Hayes' planning people on improving the mapping functionality of the website, which again will make the whole use of maps and integration between different data sets in the website much more user-friendly. And we're also, in the medium term, looking at the opportunity for expanding the use of the personal accounts and link with the Redbridge card that residents have. And that's something that we're at an idea stage at the moment, but we're very keen to take that forward with our residents to use their Redbridge card for a wider range of services. And you may also notice that in partnership with Council Dunn's Highways people, we're using our refuse vehicles to advertise some of the things you can do on the website. So when your rubbish is collected, you'll see on the side of the refuse vans advertisements for the website. And the good news, if you look at the number of transactions being done on the website and the number of hits, that they continue to rise month on month. So we are at an all-time high for usage of the website. And obviously every transaction that goes through Redbridge Eye is a saving compared with the alternative methods of doing it by post or over the telephone or indeed at the front office.
Any other council member? Right. I'd like to thank you, Councillor Cole, for the report. I'd like to thank your committee and the officers for all their work. Much appreciated, and we will take this forward. Perhaps we can have a look at it in 6 months' time and see how we progress. Thank you. So we agreed. Okay. Next is item 11, which is the Redbridge Early Intervention Strategy. The Government of Children's Services.
Thank you, sir. It gives me great pleasure to present to members the Redbridge Early Intervention Strategy. This strategy focuses on 4 key areas: early years, youth, high-risk families, and special needs and disabilities. A few months ago, a meeting took place between key organisations involved in delivering these services, including the NHS Redbridge, Job Centre Plus, the Met Police, Preschool Learning Alliance, Victim Support, etc. We have taken on board what they had to say. I've been listening very carefully and incorporated that into this strategy. And this strategy will, if agreed tonight, be adopted across all of these organisations and others working with children and young people here in Redbridge. During the coming year, we will, with our partners, be ensuring that all of the early help provided is in line with the needs of the child or young person, as well as recognising the key role, and this is very important, that parents play in shaping their children's future and providing them with the fullest support that they can as well. That being said, sir, I would move the recommendation as outlined on page 96.
Thank you. Is that agreed? Now move to item number 12. Capital programmes, research this initiative.
Yes, sir, this is a rolling programme that we have year on year. As members can see from 1.2 on page 111, there's three criteria that need to be met, but the important one is that these emanate from the schools themselves. They bid because of the needs that they perceive they have. We believe very clearly that no child should be precluded from attending a school because of any disability that they may have or handicap. And as members can see on page, I think it's 114, you have a breakdown of the bids received. Those are recommended for approval, coming to just under £400,000. It leaves a few £1,000s that we will hold to cover any improvements that suddenly come up, as they sometimes do. A child is admitted to a school and suddenly there is a need for a ramp or other adaptations. So it's always good to have some money put aside, as it were. So that being said, sir, I very much hope members will agree the recommendations on page 111 and 2.
Is that agreed? Thank you. Under item number 13, I've got Councillor Wilson.
Thank you, Leader. Very briefly, we'd like us to strongly welcome this report. It's something that we've been campaigning for a long time. So it's very, very much needed, the improvements to the science facilities at Wanstead High. And when it has been committed to for a long period of time, and it's very, very pleasing to see this report come forward tonight and the funding finally be released. I know the Cabinet member gave a very strong commitment last year when it was discussed as part of the budget process. I'm absolutely delighted that he's managed to deliver on that commitment this evening. So without any further hesitation, I sincerely hope you agree the report tonight. Thank you.
Thank you. Do you have any questions for
I just want to commend the ward members for their lobbying over many, many years. I was a bit sceptical, I have to admit, until I went and had a look for myself and quickly changed my view. My criteria for visiting anywhere, in a way, is to say, would I be happy if my child, I suppose now I should say my grandchildren, were actually going to be housed there, taught there, or whatever. And when I saw the science laboratories, it was quite obvious that no, I wouldn't. In the 21st century, they are unacceptable. I'm very pleased that the work should be done in 14-15, and I'm sure the pupils will benefit greatly from that work. And I again hope that members would agree the recommendation on page 121.
Just to add to what the Cabinet member says, I know we've discussed this before, and again to thank all members for their efforts. And clearly it's good news that this administration is delivering where maybe our predecessors didn't quite manage it, even in difficult times. We're finding money for improvements like this. And it has to be said, actually, that despite the national economic situation, the amount of capital funding that the Council is receiving for our education capital programme in the round for this government is significantly more than we received from the previous government. And
commended and recognised by the Home Office as best practice document. Helping vulnerable and repeat victims is amongst one of the borough's top priorities, with Redbridge soon to establish a vulnerable victims panel that will identify and support vulnerable and repeat victims to ensure they're getting the required help. The borough's other top priorities were set as burglary, robbery and serious youth violence, drug and alcohol-related crime and social behaviour. As I said previously, this is a one-year plan which builds upon the work that took place last year. Another reason is that sometimes trends do tend to fluctuate, and so priorities can vary. Last year the borough saw reductions in different types of violent crime, motor vehicle crime, as well as reductions in non-residential burglary and commercial robbery. The police have also increased its sanction detections. The partnership has been working hard to reduce crime, and this plan lays out how we will work together to ensure that victims of crime are supported and how we can reduce crime through both intervention and enforcement. And we are proud of the achievements we have made to date. However, we are not being complacent, and we fully understand that there is a need to keep working hard on issues such as burglary and robbery to continue to make Redbridge safer. And on that note, Leader, I would like to recommend recommendation 3.1 on page 125.
Is that agreed? Thank you. Item number 15 is draft water restrictions. Councillor Taylor.
Thank you again, Leader. It's rather ironic that I'm presenting this report before Cabinet this evening, given that it's been raining on and off for the past fortnight. However, the fact remains that we have had very little rainfall over the past 2 years. In fact, 19 of those months have actually been below average. The lack of rain over such a prolonged period has seen river levels drop and also ground levels drop dramatically. Levels are lower than the drought experienced back in 1976 and are the lowest recorded levels. Thames Water, being one of the two water supplying companies to Redbridge, has introduced a temporary use ban which started back on the 5th of April, and it's also very likely that Essex and Suffolk Water, being the other supplier to Redbridge, may also follow suit. Watering of parks, gardens open to the public and sports fields, as well as restrictions on the use of hose pipes in domestic properties, is a result of the ban. If this trend continues, there's a strong possibility that stronger measures would have to be introduced to an ordinary drought order, prohibiting things like filling or maintaining non-domestic swimming pools and using mechanical vehicle washers. There are examples of temporary use ban in the body of the report in paragraph 2.4a, and under B you have the ordinary drought order, and under C you have the emergency drought order. Our emergency planning team are routinely monitoring the rainfall and lead on business continuity and associated risks for the council. The temporary use ban will no doubt have an impact on vision. They will not be able to water any grass areas, cricket pitches, bowling greens, etc. with a hose pipe. This will not impact on commercial vehicles, and members to my left will please know that. But however, should we go to ordinary drought order, then this will most certainly affect the washing of council vehicles and refuge trucks. And if we do have to go to drought order, that would mean standpoints. So hopefully it will continue raining and we don't have to go down these routes. And I recommend to this Cabinet 3.1 and 3.2 on page 132.
Thank you. Thank goodness for April showers then. Is that agreed, colleagues? Thank you. Now move to item number 16, which is energy efficiency works on the orchard estate. I understand Councillor Deakins wishes to speak.
Thank you, Leader. I have one question and a couple of comments. obviously very strongly welcome the scheme outlined in this report. I think a lot of credit is due to the officers who've got this underway in double quick time, and also to my colleague Councillor Bond, who has kept them up to the mark as they've gone along. I've got one question which concerns the proposed resident engagement. I would like to know whether there are plans, as I hope there are, to tender the contract or whatever it is for the role of resident engagement officer. I just have a slight suspicion that in some quarters people might think it easiest to just extend the contract to First Call, who are working for us at the moment. I have some concerns about their performance, and so I wouldn't want that to happen. So that's a specific question to the Cabinet member. A couple of other comments. I'm sure this would happen, but I don't think it's specifically here in the report that during the progress of the project, should it go ahead, particularly given the great speed with which it's being undertaken, I'd hope that there would be regular progress and performance reports available to members, which isn't actually specified here, but we would want to be in receipt of that information regularly. My final point is I was given to understand that possibly a representative of the Orchard Estate residents would be here tonight. I don't think he is.
Yeah, he was here before you came.
Right. Okay, then he's said what he needs to say. But those are my 2 points. One question about resident engagement and one comment about the desirability of regular performance reports available to members.
Thank you. Cabinet Member for Housing, would you like to answer? Thank you, Leader. I have been quite involved in the scheme from the outcome. Just for some clarity, are you referring to a resident engagement with regards to the consultation, or if the scheme is to go ahead, a resident engagement officer for the scheme duration? Because I need to be clear on that.
I think I'd rather thought that the same people would do both, but if that's not the case, then perhaps you can clarify.
For clarification, with regards to the consultation, I think that there will be just a member of the Orchard Residents Estate Association will be involved in the sort of the procurement process, but there won't be a particular resident engagement companies. First Call are not being moved over to do that because the consultation needs to be quite quick, and we need to move very fast on this. With regards to if this does actually come to fruition and people are on site, they will be expected to appoint a resident engagement officer, team, however they want to do it, and it will be part of the procurement document, who will be expected to be there every day of the week while the work is going on. They will engage with the residents and solve any problems that are happening at the time. That will be part of the procurement process, and it won't be that we would appoint them, they will be people from the actual organisation who will be in the project.
Yeah, thank you for that clarification. I think then if we're in a position, I'm not sure how this will work, but if we're in a position to insist or request or whatever of the energy people, then I think we should do so, because I'm sure our expertise in consultation in housing is considerably greater than theirs. I can imagine them coming to us and saying, well, we haven't done much of this, we haven't got much of a clue, we're looking to you to tell us what to do. So I think we might have quite an input to that. I'd be grateful to be kept in touch with developments anyway. And by the way, I forgot to thank Councillor Councillor Turberfield as well for his hard work on this project also.
Councillor Moore wants to say a couple of words first.
Yeah, I'm just to declare my interest as a ward member. I wanted to add to what Councillor Deakins has said by thanking the cabinet member. I know he's worked very hard on this project here. It has, and it remains, something of a race against time, because essentially we're trying to benefit from the Community Energy Savings Programme before it concludes at the end of this year. On the consultation point, I do think the issue about resident engagement is going to principally be around the contractor engaging with residents to make sure that all the practical day-to-day queries they're going to have about how their property is affected, when the work is due to be done, any snagging issues and so on, can be dealt with by someone who works for the contractor, who is based on site and is able to answer their questions. Clearly, whoever the successful contractor is, it makes far more sense if they lead on that rather than trying to do it through a third party or from the council end. This project essentially is a win-win-win because there's an environmental benefit through reduced carbon emissions and energy saving. There is a benefit to the council, the estate itself, because of the improvements to the estate, and there's a benefit to the council from having this work funded externally, and therefore clearly this is right, it's to be welcomed, and we'll do everything we can to try and get it delivered.
Councillor Turberfield, would you like to present your report?
I think Councillor Bond said much of what I intended to say. I would like to emphasise this is purely an opportunity at the moment, and there is a significant amount of work to be done to get this from an opportunity to actually people on site. It hasn't just materialised overnight. It's been in the ether for about 4 months now, but there's various things that have been in discussions, and if someone offers you a large amount of money, you think, yes, I'll just take it. Unfortunately, it's not quite as simple as that when you're dealing with a council and their estates. So there's lots of work that has been done and a lot more work to be done. I would pass my thanks to the officers for this. It's taken quite some significant amount of time to get where we are now. But who wouldn't say thank you to £11 million worth of investment on one of our estates? Tenants and leaseholders will pay nothing towards this, which is good news for the leaseholders on the Ilgin estate. And I would like to recommend to my colleagues 3.1 through to 3.5, and it does say that we will have a report in June, and I've taken on board Councillor Deakins' comments, and if it does come to fruition, there will obviously be regular progress reports, because it is very good news for Redbridge as a whole.
I think this is tremendous news actually. I'd like to thank all the cabinet members involved, and especially the housing and legal officers, because I know that they've really pulled out all the stops to meet a very tight deadline. So, with all that in mind, is the recommendations agreed? Thank you. Now move to item number 17, which is the recommendation of the Ancient Queen's Diamond Jubilee Court panel. Can we move further?
Yesterday you asked that a panel was formed to receive sort of progress reports and so on, the visit to the Queen, and about the festival during that period, and also the Diamond Jubilee weekend. And I'd like to thank the panel for some of their recommendations. We haven't agreed to all of them because there's a time limit whereby some of the implementations of some of their recommendations needed to be met, particularly recommendation 2, which was to give a lasting monument to a clock for the town centre. I mean, the panel were mindful of lots of different issues, but we decided to decline the request because there would be a potential cost to this item, and the real uncertainty of a successful drive for public donations. Also, the Palace have insisted that any lasting monument should actually be done in the year of the Queen's Jubilee, and it would be impossible to try and to meet that target. The other recommendation was a time capsule where they wanted to consider collecting 60 items to commemorate each of Her Majesty's reign. Notwithstanding the response to recommendation 2, we did agree actually to have an item of 6 decades of Her Majesty's reign, which makes it slightly smaller. Recommendation 4 was the big Jubilee lunch, which we asked to know. We've received about 30 applications so far from that, and that's progressing well. And also a festival of song as part of the Jubilee celebrations, that's going ahead. Things like talks in our libraries, well, that's happening already. We've already had 7
to send out a briefing note ASAP to all 63 members to let them know, one, what the implications are of this, as short bullet points, and what it is they're going to have to do in order to provide a service to the residents of this borough come October if all this goes ahead. Because I was certain in some cases it might be that all communication will end up stopping, or we'll be back to letters, which might be quite good. It might be actually artificial, but I think there is a danger that if it becomes a sudden halt and we're not going to provide the service we should do for our residents, and I'm not sure all members have fully understood what's involved with this. So I'd like a briefing note, if it's possible, to be sent out, so that members have got a chance to raise their concerns before October, and if necessary, or whether they say, okay, we want to hold and take it a bit further, because I haven't yet to see totally convinced on how it is going to necessarily provide a better service for our residents. Might be some sort of saving, but I'm not sure. But it's all going to totally work. So I think a briefing note will be very helpful if the cabinet member will be so kind.
Thank you, Chair. The change, which essentially involves withdrawing the fixed connections to residents' homes, is still 6 months away, so clearly there is ample time both to brief members and for members to take the necessary actions to arrange their own broadband connections where they don't already have them. But I think it's important to be clear in bringing this item to Cabinet that my role essentially now is to implement a budget option that was agreed just over a year ago, and that budget option came through Cabinet twice. It went through Overview Committee as part of the normal consultation process and was agreed by Council. And the item very clearly spelled out the Council's intention to save money from member support by withdrawing those fixed line connections, which are quite expensive. I mean, per member per month, if you divide the cost equally between the phone and the broadband, it's costing the Council and therefore the taxpayer something like £35 per member per month to provide broadband to our homes, and something like £35 per member per month to provide a fixed line connection to our homes. And I think at a time when there is huge pressure on our costs, and when broadband penetration in Redbridge, I believe, is over 80%, so over 80 out of 100 homes, or 8 out of 10 homes in the borough have their own broadband connections. I don't think it is necessary going forward that the Council bears the cost of doing that to members, many of whom when they're elected probably have those facilities already. To make sure that members are fully involved and informed in taking this forward, the detail of how we actually implement the change was taken to the Member Development Panel, which is a cross-party panel responsible for looking at member-related issues. And at that panel's request, it was also presented to the 3 group meetings, and we took on board feedback from the 3 group meetings last year. And up until the Overview Committee last week, there was no challenge to the fundamental point that this is the right thing to do, and it's right, as in every other area of member expenditure, we identify efficiencies where we can. So I'm quite happy to make sure that members are fully briefed, but we're beyond the point where challenging the fundamental proposition is realistic. We're now at the point at which it's about implementing it and making sure we provide support and assistance to those members that need it as we move from council-provided broadband to privately obtained broadband, which is what the vast majority of our residents do for themselves as things stand. Want to come back?
Yeah, I quite accept that some consultation was done, but I'm not sure that everybody fully understand. And though we are looking towards savings, I was suggesting it's costing that much. Maybe our deal on telephones is not as good as it should be. But I just think a basic bullet point, briefing point to members to say, this is what's happening, this is what you've got to do by October. These are the implications, how it's going to work with the equipment, we still keep that, but we can't. I'm interested to know how the deal will work on providing us all with mobiles or Blackberries, what restrictions we will have. Maybe we should be aware, so that we're doing the savings to provide better, or at least as good a service as we do now.
Yeah, certainly our intention is to do both achieve a significant saving for our residents and to improve the level of services that we provide, and with the exception of the broadband connection itself, which members will in future bear the majority of the cost of, with the council making a small contribution. In every other respect, the opportunities for improved service are increased. Members will have a mobile phone if they want it, which they don't have at the moment, so residents will be able to contact them wherever they are, if that's what councillors wish to make themselves available in that way. keep up with the times, it is vital that the council provides people with choices and doesn't just issue standard equipment to people who already have their own.
Thank you. So, board, is that agreed? Thank you. Item 19, any other items which the Chair decides to read from state early? I haven't got any other items. Therefore, we go to the public business meetings. Thank you, everyone, for attending.